Now, Pauline, surely there is no way the coalition can support this model which gives this group of people virtually unlimited power.
Alan, you are absolutely correct with it. I was a bit annoyed with Peter Dutton for not coming out against it long before this. He hasn't really made a stance as yet. He's asking for more consultation, he's asking to know what the whole process and the wording is about. But based on principle, it is divisive. You are putting one Australian against another Australian. And what I've always fought for since 1996 is Australians. And as I say to people today, why should anyone who is 25, 30, 40 years of age have any more say in legislation or policy in this country than any other Australian who's not Indigenous? They shouldn't. And we should not be treating them as such.
Right. Absolutely
this is,
right.
Alan, as I've said, this is going to lead, and what they want in the papers that I've seen from NIAA is basically to form a state within another state within the country, which is a black state with self-determination. Now, under the Constitution, Chapter 6, the state or the federal can split a state into another state. And you don't need to put it to a referendum by the people. You only need to ask the people of that state if a part of their state is carved off. Can you imagine what will happen if they said, OK, we're going to form the Northern Territory into a black state and therefore they can actually hand it over?
Yes, I know. I mean, Lydia Thorpe's talking about sovereignty. That means this is not our land, and she's talking about everyone paying rent because we're living on someone else's land. I mean, the Sydney Institute's human rights lawyer is a supporter of The Voice, Frank Brennan. And he said of what Albanese is proposing, and I quote exactly, "It won't fly, and I don't think the Australian public will ever accept it." But I mean, Albanese's been up front, Pauline. He said, "I am here to change the country." What the hell does that mean?
Well, it is. He just wants to send it back to what it was previously and to recognise, and they talk of First Nations people. Well, I'm sorry, they're Aboriginals to me and Torres Strait Islanders. At the end of the day, we're all Australians together.
Yep.
But this is going to be so divisive, Alan, that if you give them a say on all legislation, which they'll have to have, because you see 80% of the Aboriginal population lives in the cities and suburbs, you know, close to the coast. Only 20% live in remote and rural areas. So therefore, all legislation that passes through Parliament does affect Aboriginal people.
Yes,
so therefore, they're going to have a say on immigration, trade, foreign affairs, defence, you name it, everything. It is impossible. I mean, see, and part of the requirements, Alan, is...
Yeah, you're right.
It doesn't just ask for
everything. I mean, the essence of the referendum is to insert into the Constitution a race-based change, and that gives one body vast constitutional power. Pauline, I thought that was once called apartheid.
It is apartheid, and there's no other word for it. And we're going to do exactly to this country what happened in Africa and the division that happened there and in their states.
See, when you're asking the Australian people to endorse possibly the most far-reaching referendum proposal since Federation, and here we are, we're told nothing, no discussion, no debate, no nothing, and Albanese says it's a modest proposal. I mean, that's simply not true. There'll be a new Chapter 9 in our Constitution. There'll be a new Chapter 9 in the Constitution which enshrines the voice. There'll be a new advisory arm of government, but the voice is an institution based on racial identity. We can't endorse that, Pauline. It's as simple as that, isn't it?
It is that simple. But, Alan, I'm going to go further. I'm putting up a private members' bill for the determination of what we classify as an Aboriginal. Now, under the definition, it is a person who identifies as an Aboriginal, or whether the person must be recognised as an Aboriginal by the Aboriginal community, or the person is Aboriginal by way of descent. So to say that a person must identify as an Aboriginal, that's why we haven't had that's why we've had an explosion of people identifying as Aboriginal between the 2016 census and the last one, which increased by 24%. These people aren't Aboriginal. There's no definition. There's no how far back they go. They can say, I'm Aboriginal, and it's never questioned, Alan. And then they get on the teat. They get on the government teat, and they get on the welfare system, and they just milk it for everything that they possibly can. No one wants to question them, because then they say you're being racist.
That's right.